Welcome to The Bestie Perspective, a raw, unfiltered space where we explore the mind-body-spirit connection. Every week, we dive into personal growth, holistic healing, and life's ups and downs to inspire, support, and remind you you're never alone on this journey. Hey besties, thank you for joining us in this episode from Stubble to Softness. Today's episode is about masculine and feminine energy, what it means, how it shows up, and why finding balance is necessary. We'll talk about feminine archetypes, the pressure to hustle, and what it actually means to embrace softness without losing power. So whether you're the woman who's tired of doing it all, or the man trying to understand this dynamic better, stick around. This episode is for you. What made me choose this topic? I've been noticing something for a while now, not just in my clients, but in the culture at large, that so many women are exhausted, burnout, achieving but not fulfilled, independent but lonely, or just struggling in their relationships, period. What I'm seeing over and over is women living in survival mode, embracing masculine energy to feel safe or successful, while quietly denying their true desires, denying themselves of what they really wanted. I found that many of my clients actually wanted to be taken care of. They wanted a trustworthy man in their lives, but they were living as if that wasn't possible for them. I found that women were denying their truth. They actually didn't want to work. Or they were ignoring the fact that their hustle was draining, and as a result, many areas of their lives were suffering. My belief is that society's promoted working and earning as success. The love of a woman, grace, and care, her presence has lost its value. In truth, that's not possible, but only a woman in her full power knows that. Many things in our media, advertisement, government policy, unfortunately, it promotes an imbalance, less reverence on things that are of feminine energy. And there's more promotion of hustle culture. What I found was when you balance both energies in yourself, accepting what comes most naturally to you and what you truly desire becomes easier. And that's what I want everyone listening to embrace today. Let's begin before even defining and clarifying what I mean when I speak on these forms of energy. Ladies, think back to childhood. What kind of examples of feminine or masculine energy did you see growing up? How did those examples shape your views today? And I'll start us off by saying, for me, I was a Disney kid. I was all about the Disney princesses. Loved them all, and I know that that shaped my foundation for relationships. I was all into the Prince Charming fantasy, and I do think that that gave me unrealistic expectations, and it makes sense as to why I struggled in relationships for a time. When it came to my dynamic in the household, as far as my parents, my mother was actually the disciplinarian. She was the one the most hands-on. She was always going, always busy and active. And she had 4 of us. So I know that was a lot. I know that was hard on her. And that for sure put her more into masculine energy. Whereas my dad, he was a homebody and he was super passive. He did not want confrontation. So he, in that sense, was more of the feminine. And so that's the display that I had. What about you, Lauren? What about your childhood?
So for me, kind of thinking about both family and media. With my family, growing up, my parents had a pretty traditional dynamic between them. My mom often embodied more traditionally feminine traits. She was nurturing, soft-spoken, and primarily took care of the house and the kids, even though she also held a job. And she did most of the cooking, caregiving, and her energy felt gentle and supportive. My dad, on the other hand, was more dominant in decision-making and he carried more of the provider role. And he was a little rougher around the edges emotionally, not super expressive, but steady and dependable. And his presence in the home leaned more toward the classic strong, silent type version of masculinity. And so seeing that dynamic shaped my early understanding of what masculine and feminine look like in a family setting. So I think for me, I think I went into relationships maybe being a bit more passive or not actually turning into not speaking up for myself, which I know we talked about in previous episodes. So I think that kind of shaped me in that way. But now I've kind of had to find that balance of femininity, but also still setting boundaries and having strength in my own voice and things like that. And with media, I can totally relate to you with the princesses. Cinderella was my fave.
Yes.
But also growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, the media I consumed, I think, also shaped that view. Shows like Full House actually showed men stepping into caregiver roles, but still holding that strong, protective, masculine presence, while the women were more nurturing and emotionally expressive. But I also loved Hannah Montana and That's So Raven and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And those girls were funny and confident and stylish, and they embraced that feminine energy, but they also showed a lot of strength and independence. And then I liked goofy cartoons like Phineas and Ferb and SpongeBob, but those had more exaggerated masculine energy, loud, bold, always doing something, always getting into something, while the female characters in those were usually the voice of reason or more emotionally grounded. And then, like you said, the princesses and waiting for their hero to be saved and just the beauty and the kindness that went along with them. All of that, looking back, I think gave me some mixed messages about masculine and feminine. Some reinforced the traditional gender roles, and others started to expand what masculinity and femininity could look like. So it definitely laid the groundwork for how I understood these energies before I ever learned to explore them more consciously.
I love that you admit that it was confusing.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect word for it for some people. That
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. So you had mentioned how you ended up not having a voice as you're emanating the softness that you saw in your mother. And that's perfect because we're going to discuss a little later on how some women may be too much into the feminine. And I'll
Mm.
explain a little bit more on that. So I'm glad you touched on that. And Hannah, what about your childhood?
So I took it a little bit different because when I first thought about this, when you asked us, I immediately went to what was really masculine for me. What do I think had the biggest influence on me learning masculine energy and cultivating that? And then same for feminine. And the first thing that popped in my head when it comes to masculine energy was the influence that playing sports had on me.
Oh, sure.
Mm.
And I think I had the most examples of masculine energy influencing me there, not only because a lot of my coaches were men, but I also feel like a lot of the principles you learn through sports are naturally masculine. You know, the discipline and the structure, the healthy competition, leadership, responsibility, you know, becoming captains or co captains and earning your way there. Usually you're on the team for a year or two before you earn something like that, at least. Mental toughness, like pushing through pain and like pushing through, even when it comes to goal setting and understanding how to make a strategy, to think logically through something, and even understanding delayed gratification, working for the win. Those were some of the biggest things I'm grateful to have experienced. And for the feminine, I look at things like play. I loved dolls and arts and crafts
Hmm.
and anything like so girly. I even begged my mom when it came to buying any furniture or anything for my room. I wanted to decorate my room. So I loved things like interior design and Pinterest from such a young age. I loved making anything with my hands, like lanyards, friendship bracelets, painting, drawing, coloring, baking. Oh my God, I loved baking so much. And I was always pretending to be a mom. I had so many baby dolls. And anytime I played
Aw.
Barbies, it was always like mom and dad and baby.
Oh, so cute.
Oh, so sweet.
I was a little nurturing mother and just wanted to be caring and make sure everyone was taken care of. And I took care of the whole house and,
Oh,
that was
Oh. I can so see that. I think it definitely flows into who you are today too.
yeah, it does. But I appreciate you bringing up the sports piece because I actually didn't grow up doing a lot of sports, but there are plenty of athletes out there that may be listening to this and realizing, yeah, it really did structure the masculine idea for myself.
I'm also glad that you mentioned that, Hannah, because as soon as you said it, I was like, oh shit, that's such a good point. And even as you were talking, I was reflecting in my own life and felt so many of those moments that you mentioned, and how looking back, yeah, it was very masculine focused. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And I will say one other thing that popped in my head when I was saying this with the masculine energy really influencing how I set goals and stepping into a more feminine energy and putting that on to help balance has even changed the way I set goals to not just here's my end goal and this is how we're going to get there. Here's the plan and it's measurable. For me, it's almost become attached to my feelings. How do I want to feel after this? And like weaving in feeling, emotions, other things that feel more feminine around goal setting has been interesting.
Oh man, we are going to get into it because you guys are making some good points and it's going to make even more sense for the listeners. So I'm going to keep this going. So good. Thank you guys. So, listeners, would you be surprised if I told you that masculine has nothing to do with acting like a dude and feminine is not about being girly? Masculine energy. So, here's what it is: action, going, doing, conquering and achieving, thinking and analyzing, decision making, leading, giving and providing. And then there's healthy versus toxic masculine. Toxic looks like dominating, aggressive, arrogance, yelling and throwing a tantrum or quote unquote mantrum. And
I'm gonna remember that one.
yeah, use it on your husbands, girls.
I will. The next time Jason is hangry, I'm going to tell him, stop having a mantra.
I like to say menstruation, so I'm gonna add
There you
this
go.
one to the
Mantrum and menstruation. There you go. And then toxic also looks like dictating and controlling. Now, healthy masculine. This is conquering and overcoming, confidence, commanding and directing, protects and provides. P.S. You might be toxic if you have trouble understanding the difference between the healthy and the toxic descriptions I just gave. If you're sitting there like, wait, what's the difference between those? Then red flag, but it's okay. But it's okay. We're glad you're here. So let's keep going with feminine energy. This is just being, feeling, sensing, intuiting, softness and flow, following, creating, influencing, and receiving. So we have healthy versus toxic feminine as well. Toxic shows up as a woman who manipulates, weak, easily persuaded, shares judgments and gossip, emotionally ignorant, expects to be served, entitled, or spoiled. Healthy shows up as influence, gentle and soft, shares love, encourages, intuitively expresses emotions, serves the community. So think loving queen or a respected goddess. There's obviously a spectrum of toxicity for both guys. The combinations in each sex can look different. A dominating, controlling wife, she's in the masculine. A 60s submissive, complacent housewife type of character, that's unhealthy, overly feminine. Both are unhealthy, but not dealing with the same energy issue. I want to bring up that all three of us have dealt with imbalance in our pasts. To anyone listening today that may feel like they're in the unhealthy category, promise, no judgment. Hannah, if you remember in our Reflections for 2025 episode, you expressed how you found your way to giving yourself permission to pause, to just rest, to be, without actually doing an activity. You said you used to feel guilt and feel, I should be doing something. In being okay with and allowing rest, you were giving yourself permission to step out of masculine doing and going and action and stepping into feminine being and flow. Do you see that now that I've broken down the two energies here?
Oh, yeah. I will say it is one of the best decisions I ever made.
Right? Preach, girl, preach.
I don't know if I said this in that episode, but one of the ways that I've noticed the most difference is taking a time where I used to do it and noticing now that I don't feel guilty. For example, what I mean by that is I used to feel so guilty all the time, just laying by the pool. I have a part-time job. I do this podcasting gig. I make my own schedule as a coach. I have the freedom to decide when and where and how I want to work. Almost. I can't take my podcast calls with you guys upstairs because the chickens and the dogs, but so I have to be somewhere quiet for that. But the point is I have so much freedom, and the beauty of that is I get to decide when do I want to go lay by the pool and just relax for a minute. And I think that's been one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship is having the freedom to make my own schedule and not feel guilty when I want to rest during that hour. I used to feel so guilty, like, oh, I need to do something while I'm here by the pool. I need to be doing something on my phone to stay productive. But in reality, all I wanted was to do nothing and just listen to the water flow and feel the sun on my skin and listen to the chickens.
Yes. Well, and speaking of guilt, Lauren, the from nurse to housewife dilemma that's mentioned in a couple different episodes of ours, the phrase you couldn't let go of, I'm a housewife, but I'm also a nurse. Like someone could say it was as if saying, I'm stepping more into my feminine, but I still have a history of being masculine, I swear. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a funny way to put it. But also, I think it makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize how masculine I had become working in the hospital. But you honestly have to become that way to survive. So, and I want to take this moment to also say to our listeners, don't beat yourself up too much about it. Because sometimes you do have to tap more into certain energies to survive where you're at. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. And so that being said, it was really, when you're in a more masculine state as a woman, you can be more controlling, right? Like Aileen mentioned earlier. I think it was part of giving up that control.
Right.
Finally letting go of that and not having to follow it with, but I'm a nurse, as you said, but I used to have a history of being masculine. And I think it was part of that last bit of control that I had to let go of to really step into my femininity more fully and in a way that feels good to me. And now that I have done that, it's not a second thought. I don't feel that knee-jerk reaction anymore. it's like I want to tell people, don't even remember that I was masculine. Sheesh, just know me as I am now. So
I'm just proud of both of you for not having that guilt anymore. That's awesome. I'm proud of myself too, because I can say the same exact thing. So, who are some of your idols or role models when it comes to emulating the type of woman you want to be? I had several in mind, and I had to admit to myself that I like being a woman with some spunk, silliness, spice, if you will. If I need to pull it out, I got a little bit of masculinity there, some sass.
You got that spicy, saucy flavor.
But I also have role models where I love this person for one reason and that person for one particular characteristic. So I know I'd have a combination of things in my list. But the women that I love because they emulate peace, kindness, and spiritual connection, I went with like a specific category, are Malala Yousafzai. If you guys haven't heard of Malala, she is an amazing young woman that advocates for women's rights to education. And I had only one other person on my list just to keep it short, and that would be Mary Magdalene. Not a bad title to have as the right hand of Jesus, I'm just saying. So I had many more for different reasons, but I'll just give these two for now. How about you, Hannah? Who are your idols?
This took me a while to think of, really. But, okay, one of them is Drew Barrymore.
Okay.
I love her. Like, I would be her best friend if she ever listens to this.
Excuse me, that role is taken, Drew, but you can be one of her best friends.
Bestie, though.
I'm sorry.
Slot position has been filled.
Yes. She, to me, is just so funny and is so talented. She fills so many shoes, and I feel like she really embraces vulnerability despite being so famous, and shares a lot about her journey openly, which it's so ironic to me that she's so well known, but it seems like there's aspects of her childhood that are so relatable. And I feel like she does such a good job at connecting with a lot of people because of that. And like, she has a talk show now. So that goes to say something. And I also feel like she models acceptance of imperfection and flaw, which is something I love. I love that about art. I love that about people, nature, everything. So I love that she models that.
I will say any little clip from her show that I saw, she really is good at being vulnerable. And she gets her guests on her show to join her in that space. So that's very true. I like that example.
You ladies are making me want to check her out. I mean, I knew she had a talk show, but I have never seen it.
It's really good. And the other person that I picked is somebody from social media, actually, an influencer I've been following since way back. I mean, like when I was in high school. And she is a fitness influencer. Her name's Katie Hearn. And following her on social media at a young age, and then seeing how she built a life and business over time was very eye-opening to me. To see somebody become a successful business owner, when I remember thinking back in high school, I could never own a business. That's way too much responsibility. I had a lot of limiting beliefs about business owning as a very young and impressionable girl. And seeing that over time really gave me hope and inspiration that I could start a successful business. And I really valued the masculine traits that she had, still has. But I've also seen her embrace a more feminine energy as well. And so that's also inspiring to see that balance where she's become more focused on being a mom and being a really wonderful wife and being there for all of her boys and playing in the garden and cooking. Like, these are all things I enjoy and love naturally, but just to see how someone can do that alongside own a business is really freaking inspiring to me.
How awesome. Well, I love that you have appreciation for even the masculine showing up in a woman, because it's okay. We have both. It's just about the balance and finding out what's healthy for you guys. And she may fit into a certain archetype, which we'll get into later, where she can thrive in business, whereas somebody else might not. And that's very much okay. So we'll get into that in a second, because I want to hear about your role models, Lauren.
Okay, so my biggest role models aren't celebrities or public figures. They're the women in my life. I
Aww.
feel really lucky to be surrounded by such a diverse mix of feminine energy, strength, and wisdom. I find inspiration in the way that each embody different aspects of womanhood, and I look to them when I think about the kind of woman I want to grow into. So when I reflected on this, I thought, it's the women in my life. So I'd like to go through some of the important ladies in my life and share. So I'm going to start with my mom. She has always been the heart of our family. She's nurturing, soft, and deeply caring. She always made our house feel like a home. Her love shows up in all the little things that she does, and there's such a gentleness to her presence that stuck with me. Her softness, attention to detail, and the way she takes care of people and holds space with love, that's something I really admire and want to carry with me. And there's Eileen, who blends strength and boundaries with softness and feminine grace in such a beautiful way. She reminds me that you can be grounded and powerful while still receiving and flowing. And we have Hannah, who has this peaceful, calming presence that's so grounding. And she's generous, patient, and incredibly understanding. Her ability to meet people where they are without judgment inspires me to lead with more compassion and ease. And then I have another one of my besties, Victoria, who I've always called the mom friend growing up because she has that natural nurturing instinct. She's always been someone who selflessly takes care of people she loves, and now she's a mother to a beautiful little girl. And watching her step into that role with so much love and care has been so inspiring. I'm also really inspired by the women in my life who move through the world with a more action-driven energy, what some might call a more traditionally masculine, though to me it's just another facet of feminine power. My Aunt Gina runs a successful estate sale business with her husband, and her work ethic and determination are seriously motivating. My bestie Amber has been a powerhouse since high school. She's always been a go-getter, and now she's traveling the country as a scrub tech and thriving. And then
Go, Amber, go.
And then my husband's Aunt JP has carved out a big name for herself in New York real estate. Her ambition and drive are also next level. So all of these women influence me in different ways. Each of them represents a unique mix of masculine and feminine energy, and I find myself wanting to pull little pieces from each of them, whether it's nurturing and softness, strength and boundaries, peace and presence, or ambition and hustle. I see them all as mirrors, showing me the kind of balance that I want to cultivate in myself.
That was so beautiful.
Thank
you.
I love you guys.
We
Thank
are
you.
very, very, very proud to be part of your list. Oh my gosh, I feel so honored. But as
Thank
well,
you.
I mean, we're each other's tribe. So how lucky are we?
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I was like, when I think about it, it's the women around me. Like, you girls inspire me to be better every single day. And I'm so grateful for that.
I knew I was getting into something good when I said yes to this. I love you guys.
Love
You guys
Aw.
inspire me all the time. And even in just, this is episode number 10. Even in
Whoop,
just
whoop.
10 episodes, I feel like we have all grown and learned things about ourselves and about each other. And of course, I mean, also getting better at podcasting and speaking and all that good stuff too. But just imagine where we'll be at episode 20, 100, 200.
Oh my gosh, how exciting to think about.
Seriously, it is.
Because you guys are that awesome.
Oh, yeah. It is like weekly therapy, though. You know, we got a little weekly sesh together. And like you said, the way we get to grow and share and learn about each other, it's been so wonderful. I absolutely agree.
I love the energy you bring every week.
Oh, thank you.
For sure.
The magic sprinkled on the episode.
I know, Lauren, we're going to have I'm going to send you a voice note with all the goodness that you bring as well. So you get to hear how lovely and feel how lovely that was.
Oh, thank you. That would be so sweet.
So it's interesting to think about our dynamic, though, and to see how we interact with each other, and maybe even if we are the same archetype, which brings me to introduce to our listeners the 7 female archetypes, or the 7 feminine archetypes. And this goes back to a woman named Jean Shinoda Bolen, a psychiatrist and well-known writer on the topic, who first defined the 7 feminine archetypes with the publication of her book back in 1984, Goddesses in Every Woman, A New Psychology of Women. There have been further developments. I've seen 12 archetypes. I've seen, different ones. So I really liked this one because I found even the quiz to go with it, and the 7 archetypes just resonated with different types of women that I've known in my life. So if anyone is interested in taking the quiz and finding out what your archetype is, we'll provide a link in the description of this episode. I'm going to quickly review the 7 that you would find in this quiz. We have the mother. She is love and nurturing, warm and supportive. The queen. She is leadership, personal power. She's confident, uplifting. The maiden is curiosity and potential for growth, innocent, playful. The sage, clarity and self-mastery, rational and wise. The huntress is gifts are freedom and independence. Energy is strong and courageous. The lover, passion and intimacy, magnetic, sensual. And then the mystic, intuition and deep insight are her gifts, and her energy is calm and balanced. When I took the quiz, I got the mother. Not a surprise, but it's my belief that many women could gravitate towards a couple of different ones, or grow and change into another one. Because I know I must have been the lover back in college, because I was about sensuality and going out on dates often, big into dancing, all the salsa, and I felt like a sexy little hot tamale. I had to have been the lover at some point. But my other one for who I am present day would be the mystic. So now, if I were to guess for you girls, I think both of you could be the mystic, but I also thought mother or sage for Hannah, and either maiden or queen for Lauren. It's so funny that there are some aspects here of others that it's like, oh, that could be, maybe that one. So I'm going to give my top 3. I think it does depend on how you answer and how you perceive yourself, but what did you guys get?
Okay, can you tell me my 3 one more time that you guessed for me?
Either mystic, maiden, or queen.
So, I actually got the mother.
Did you? Okay, that doesn't completely surprise me though, because we're all nurse energy and caregiver, so that's okay.
Let me take care of you, baby.
Yeah.
So with the maiden being innocent and playful, Lauren always brings that energy to us when we're hanging out. So that's what I thought of.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the mystic, we all understand that one. We all be woo-woo. But then I also thought the queen for you, Lauren, because of stepping into business adventure and you stepping into a sense of this power. But there would maybe be a less aspect of that because I'll give some examples of full-blown queens, and that's not quite you either. So there are aspects of those that I'm like, oh, this touches on Lauren, but no, the mother does not surprise me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually didn't read through the whole list until after I took it. And reading these, I was like, oh, yeah, I could have a little sprinkle of this or a little sprinkle of that. So I definitely totally see what you mean about the playful energy. That really resonates for sure. And of course, like you said, the mystic with all three of us. But even the queen, actually, that is one I saw for myself. And I was like, oh, I feel like I've tapped into that a lot more. So I
tapped into some queen energy.
Yeah. So I could totally see how you picked up on that too.
Well, what stood out for you in discovering that you were the mother archetype?
So as I read it, it really felt aligned. As I was like, okay, yes, of service, always wanting to help others, wanting to support the people around you, the unconditional love, and just loving the people around you so deeply. And then it said a bottomless well of love, and I was like, yeah, that's totally me. But the thing I wanted to touch on was actually when it talked about the challenges that the mother archetype can encounter. And it said, with the mother's generosity and tendency to help, she runs the danger of being manipulated and taken advantage of. So it said the things that you need to do to help with this are to protect her energy and set boundaries, learn to say no, and spending time with yourself to figure out your own needs and dreams. And this couldn't be any more true for the last year or two, that these are all things I've been working on because I have definitely fallen prey to putting so many other people or things above myself and my own wants and needs. And
yes,
finally saying no, setting boundaries, and sitting with myself and really seeing what I really want.
absolutely.
So that was my biggest takeaway, I think, from the quiz.
I think when you've had discussions on the boundary setting and whatnot, we could relate so well because I'd been there. I totally was like, I feel you, girl, but come over here to boundary land because it's great on this side.
I got mojitos and cabana boys. No, just kidding. But
so Hannah, what did you get? You remember, you want me to rename the three that I was thinking?
Yes, one more time. I remember two of them, but not the third one.
Yes, I've said either mystic, mother, or sage.
I got the sage.
Aha! Okay.
And I think I was telling you just before this, I took it a second time because it was so close on some of the answers. Okay. And the second one I got was the mystic.
Okay.
So you two of the three that you guessed, like when I took them twice, yeah.
There's something about like the rational, wise energy. Yes, we've said calm a lot for Hannah, but there's rationality in calmness in a way. So that's why I was like, there's something about sage that I'm feeling for Hannah. So cool. Well, what clarity did you get in learning that?
The deepest fear on this one is not being recognized for who she is. Girl, did that hit home for me. And the signature move is giving the advice you did not want but needed to hear. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I have found my voice a little bit more. And you ask my mom, I was always quiet, but I was always watching. My eyes were always open. I have a strong desire to know things. I have lots of questions all the time. I'm quiet, but I'm always watching. So very observant to everything in life. things people are saying, their energy, the looks on their face.
You're such a sage.
Yeah, you are.
As I've gotten older and found my voice, I feel like that all of that stuff I'm observing in people is one of those things that I'm still growing into. Telling people things that I know they need to hear. I get a little scared to do that, but it's always on my mind. It's a signature move according to this, but I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm kind of a wuss about it sometimes. I'm like, I'll think to myself, but what if I hurt their feelings?
Gotcha.
So it's almost one you're still stepping fully into, right? I think you maybe mentioned that a little bit.
I feel like I am stepping into it specifically with that one piece that she mentions about giving advice. And I feel like that's a power of mine that I'm scared to use.
Okay.
But everything else about it feels pretty true to me. One of the pieces that came out was in times of turmoil or stress or something like that, I'm pretty like calm and grounded. And I might have a minute or two of freak out. But then once you smack me on the face a little bit and say, get it together, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember who the heck I am. It's okay. Like, we're going to be rational about this and I'll get us out of the mud. Don't worry.
So true. So like I said before, we will have this quiz available for you guys. So check out the description because I'm sure we'll have people interested in wanting to learn their archetype as well. So what about being out of balance? You could have a toxic feminine woman or a masculine woman. You could have a toxic masculine man or a feminine man. And I should clarify that this is speaking on heterosexuals, and we run into a whole different conversation with homosexuals or anyone else outside of the heterosexual category, just so as not to confuse any listeners out there. So the feminine man, it doesn't necessarily mean the gay stereotype. Often signs do include an unhealthy focus on creativity. So yeah, they may be in the arts or music or whatever, but it's to the point where they ignore responsibilities. Another sign could be too much time in the mirror. Metrosexual on overdrive. This is where your man takes more time than you do, has them 50 colognes and all the fit, like too much.
Oh my goodness.
Another sign could be fears or dislikes the idea of caring for a woman or children. And honestly, many men today say they want the finances to be 50-50, or they're very okay with a woman taking care of them so that they can be the ones to stay home. There has been a big shift in feminine men more recently. So it's something to think about if any women out there are seeing some of these things as issues in their current relationship. Could be an imbalance. So who are masculine women? Some examples could be Kim Kardashian, Cleopatra, Queen Elizabeth II. Some fictional characters could be Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada, Elsa from Frozen. And some more common masculine women would be ones in the roles of single mothers, working women, and I should clarify that especially if overworked or works out of necessity versus working because you love it. You can want to work and enjoy it and not be masculine. Then female soldiers, naturally, they're in a regimented masculine environment. Know that there are always outliers, meaning women that can thrive just fine in the masculine. Warrior women have always been around, even in ancient times. There's business women that can handle it all: work, kids, husband, community. But even so, these women can still get out of balance. Look at Kim Kardashian. She would be archetype queen. She, for sure, more masculine. She's got how many businesses? How many TV shows has she done? She's got Skims. She's got all kinds of stuff. But how are her relationships? How many marriages and divorces has she had? How many scandals? there's an imbalance that could be looked at. An area of weakness in your life calls to look at imbalance. Another person that I absolutely love, Dolly Parton. How much work does this woman do? How many movies? How many songs? Dollywood? How many charity events and stuff? She's very feminine in the sense that, I mean, she's still got her spunk and her sass. I love it. But in so many interviews, she exudes such kindness and such generosity, and there is a gentleness about her. But this woman is very, very business-minded and always on the go, go, go and working, that she's never had children. It's my understanding that she wanted children and that life just didn't play out. And she may have even had a partial hysterectomy, if I read that correctly. Then that led to not being able to. But again, an area of imbalance or an area to even be sacrificed, some people may say, for that masculine energy. And in maybe times it was taking over too much. So something to think about, but it's important to be real with yourself. If you're pushing and powering through or going through the motions and forcing masculinity when that's not how you truly want to be, then the first step is being honest with yourself and just owning that. So ladies, since the three of us are naturally feminine and got mentally, emotionally, and physically healthy once we accepted that truth, what might an unnaturally masculine woman need to hear if they're struggling with the idea of being feminine? Lauren, how about you?
So I think one of the first things I'd want to say is to try to be gentle with yourself. So many women move through the world in a more masculine way, controlling, pushing, doing, always in motion, not because it's truly who they are at their core, but because it's who they had to become to feel safe. For a lot of us, that masculine front, the walls, the independence, the constant need to stay in control is a form of protection. Whether it's from past trauma, toxic relationships, childhood wounds, or just never feeling safe to be soft, that armor gets built for a reason. And honestly, that version of you kept you alive. She got you through things. She deserves love, not shame. But if you're listening to this and you feel tired, disconnected, numb, or like something is missing, that might be your feminine self calling you back home. Not to erase the strong, capable, badass version of you, but to expand her, to remind her that softness isn't weakness, that receiving isn't lazy, that resting, feeling, flowing, that's powerful too. You don't have to give up your ambition, your independence, or your fire to reconnect with your feminine, but you do get to release the parts of that masculine armor that are rooted in fear, survival, or self-protection. Your feminine energy is where your wholeness lives. It's where healing happens. It's where you stop bracing for the next hit and start allowing yourself to truly feel safe being seen, loved, and held. So, to any woman who's struggling with the idea of being feminine, this isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's about remembering who you've always been underneath the armor.
Snaps. Yes.
Amen.
So good.
Thank you.
I love how you put all of that. That is perfect. And if anything, it makes me think to want to remind women out there that to be feminine or to step out of the masculine into feminine takes courage. It's actually courageous to say, oh, I'm going to surrender to someone, for example, or I'm going to allow this man to provide for me. How many women would not like that idea right now? Because it's scary. So it actually takes courage to have faith in yourself that you can choose a man that is honest, kind, and a protector. So many times where I was fearful in doing it, but it was worth it. So yes, Lauren, your words made me want to reiterate that. How about you, Hannah? What would you tell that masculine woman that's hesitant in the idea of becoming feminine?
Okay, this might sound kind of cheesy, but I hope it doesn't. I hope it resonates. if you're listening to this and you feel like you are being called out a little bit for maybe you're recognizing that you're experiencing a lot of masculine energy in your life and maybe you think you want that balance, I think you need to reconnect with and hear the voice of your heart. That's something that you have most likely been disconnected from for some time now.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And I will repeat again because I believe strongly that if you have been in masculine for a long time and you're trying to get into feminine, it does take courage because not only for the reasons that Eileen had mentioned, but also if masculine is all you've been used to, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, 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 I need to do feminine. What the hell is this all about? Like, that's kind of scary. I don't know about all that. Okay.
Right.
But if you can challenge yourself to try it on here and there, maybe then you start reconnecting to this part of yourself by asking and reflecting what parts of your life feel heavy because you're carrying all the weight alone. Where could you use some help? Where do you use control in your life to feel safe, like Lauren mentioned? And when you finally let your guard down, even for just a second, who are you truly when you're not trying to hold it all together? And I feel like that's how you can figure out if you're one of those outliers who really thrives in masculine, or if there's really something under the layer there that's worth exploring. And whatever you find, just to sit with that, learn to sit with it and not analyze it and get to fix it mode, but just hold it and reflect with compassion and radical honesty. And girl, I lived with that masculine energy for years, so I get it. There's safety with being in your head and being logical, being the strong one all the time, the responsible one, the one who always figures it out, the one who always has their shit together. There's safety in all of that. Like I said, especially if it's what you're used to. Lauren's already said this one way, I'll say it another. You're only shining half of your light, half of your power. You're working at half power. Girl, if you want to be successful, which is most likely what you're striving for, if you're in that masculine, open yourself to the feminine, and oh my goodness, you will shine.
You get some finger snaps too.
Snaps. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. So good. So here are 3 reasons. There's many, but 3 reasons a woman might switch to being more masculine without realizing. 1, she feels the need to be protected or provided for, but doesn't trust or have support from the men around her. This could be a single mother. This could be a woman who's been violated. Number 2, she's overworked and in a highly masculine environment. Number 3, she's not giving herself enough time to nurture creative feminine outlets. So how do I characterize being out of balance? One must ask, are you thriving? Is an area of your life suffering? How's your health? Energy levels? Do you get sick often? Emotionally well? Always angry, sad, irritable, over-emotional? How are your relationships? Are your kids missing out on time with you? Does your significant other feel seen by you? If people are craving your time and you can't seem to fit everyone in, it's time to assess, what can I let go of? And what about self-care? Are you sacrificing downtime that would potentially recharge you? I want people listening out there to know that if you come to realize that you're out of balance, life may have brought you circumstances that made it feel like survival was priority. And so I ask that you don't judge yourself too harshly. This goes both ways, men and women. People can be harmed by the opposite sex, where that trauma creates walls of protection because you no longer feel safe to be in your natural state. So show yourself and others grace as you assess and think about those in your life who are out of balance. Okay, it's quiz time. The shortest quiz you've ever taken, ladies. A grand total of 1 question to see, am I in my feminine?
Let's go.
Uh-oh.
The answer to this question may say it all. If you could have $1 million, which would you prefer? Would you rather A, earn it yourself, or B, receive it from a trustworthy man without stipulation? Keyword, trustworthy, ladies. Keywords, no stipulation. I've done this quiz in the past, and I had several women backpedal and say, oh, well, men aren't trustworthy, or I only trust myself, even when I just said that in this scenario, the man is trustworthy. You are receiving the money just because. Some of these women had such trouble even just playing with that imagination. So, if that was your initial reaction, then it's safe to say you have more healing from the past to do. No condemnation at all, no judgment. It's a journey, and not everyone travels it the same way, so sit with that. What was your answer to this question, ladies?
Give me that money! Yeah, I would totally receive. You know, because I'm picturing, right, like my husband's a trustworthy man. And even if in this scenario it's not our husband or something, but again, I'm picturing my husband because he is a trustworthy man. If he wants to give me $1 million just because he thinks I'm cute or something, I'm down. You don't have to ask me twice. We'll go on a nice vacay together and live it up. I definitely plan on sharing it, but yeah. I don't need to work for it. I mean, shoot.
Yeah. I was surprised to have some women answer that they would rather want to earn it themselves. I'm like, you crazy.
$1 million? Are you kidding me? I would not turn that away.
That is so nice. If I had to pick, I would also pick receiving. But let me backpedal a little bit. Not in that way, though, Eileen.
I said don't do it.
I enjoy the feeling that I get when I earn money. I like that feeling that it gives me, but maybe not the whole $1 million. Maybe I do like 20%. And then, like, I receive the rest.
I was going to joke and be like, maybe $5, you know?
But when I think about it, too, on the other side of just receiving, if I had to pick that answer, I let myself play with that idea a little bit. I was like, but would Jason ever really do that? And in reflecting on just that alone, Jason loves to provide for me. He loves that he's making more money than me right now. He loves to take care of me. He surprised me with some gifts when we met back up in the States.
Oh.
And that brings him so much joy. Like, he loves taking care of me, and I trust him. And so I guess I'd give him the responsibility. I wouldn't mind that.
I guess I'll let him take care of me.
I guess. I'm always a little bit stubborn with it, believe me.
Yeah, it can, and I can find myself doing the same or any of that, whether it's the guilt or those twinges of whatever, where like, is this okay? Is this allowed? And it's just that habit of being in that masculine energy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I even remember, especially when Ira and I first started dating, I would feel so guilty, even with him buying me dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Or simple little things, or even if we were out and about and he wanted to get me a candle or something small, I'd be like, are you sure? Oh my gosh. And it's been a really cool process to step into that receiving and see that it does, just like Hannah said, how it brings Jason joy. It brings Ira joy too. So who am I to deny him joy? If that's what makes him happy, to make me happy, and yeah, I'm for it.
We'll just keep letting it happen, ladies. Let's do it.
And I feel like that also, in a way, conserves your energy when you learn how to balance it, like
Mhm.
a sort of homeostasis in the relationship and with your own energy too. Because, Eileen, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the times that we met when I was really burned out from nursing, we met at that really cute cafe in Sandy Springs. Alon's, is that what it's called?
Alliance, that's right. I do remember.
And I talked with you about everything going on at work, and Jason and I had also bought a house together that we were renovating. And that's one prime example I can think of outside of nursing where I was super in my masculine, like challenging Jason because I had this fear of losing control, this fear of something happening, not going right, always trying to double check with YouTube University. I'm like, does this guy really know what he's doing?
Yes.
I didn't want to let him take the lead on the stuff that he is an expert in, okay? It was ridiculous. And it was absolutely draining my energy. It was comical looking back at once I finally just let him take the lead, how much smoother it went.
And that was his forte. Like he knew what to do inside the home and how to fix things up. It was so funny. I remember
you were the one to tell me, have you tried just trusting? It sounds like he just wants your trust. And I was like so blind to that. I was like, oh, that's why we're arguing so much.
And, I don't know if you remember this, but when I checked in with you, or I think to finalize our conversation, I had asked you, like, if you got what I was saying, what you needed to do. And you're like, yeah, you can go very far when you stop being a bitch.
And you know what's really funny on top of it? I feel like I remember Jason telling me stories of like crazy shit that you did trying to help Hannah. And like you totally messed some things up and he was like, then I had to go back through and fix her shit. So it's funny, like the amount of control you were trying not to lose, right? With your man knowing what he's doing, and then later he's having to go back and fix your shit.
Countless times. And then like you'd see like blood drops on the subfloor and he's like, babe, following the trail. Like, where are you? Oh my God. From like cutting my finger on a blade or something. Oh, I was a mess. Oh, one time we were installing light switches and everyone except for me knew that the power was back on. And like they were just testing the switches, but the wires were all still exposed. And I touched one of the metal pieces a little too hard, and I literally like shocked myself.
Oh my
God!
Hannah!
And he was like, "Babe," I felt like a child right then. He was like, "Babe, what are you even doing in here?" Like my. Oh my gosh! I really felt like, okay, I really need to release the reins. I have no reason to be here. And now I'm giving my man high blood pressure.
You finally shocked yourself into reality.
There you go. But even that, that was how ingrained it was in you, so much so you would bleeding and electrocuting yourself if it meant to stay in the masculine, right? Not worth it. No, ma'am.
Blood trails and electrocution.
It's fun and all, but only for a little bit, the whole DIY thing. At least for me. Like you said, there are some women who thrive. I've seen many creators on social media who are DIY women, but that life is not for me.
It's pretty funny to think back on the imbalanced ways we once lived.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does someone balance themselves? Do more feminine things? No. A man should do more masculine things? No. It sounds more simple than you would think. Tap into your spiritual connection and whatever makes you feel the most connected to yourself. Hannah put it in other words, reconnect with your heart, even. Whether it's spend time in nature, church, meditation, prayer for some people, alternative modalities, whatever gets you spiritually tapped in. Then tap into whatever makes your heart sing, whatever makes you feel the most joy. Stepping into fulfillment and not worrying about the specifics of masculine and feminine is actually going to naturally bring you to your balance of both. Believe it or not, the women who are naturally feminine and were able to step back into it from the masculine with ease weren't trying to be feminine. Remember, doing an action that's masculine. So I'm going to do this femininity thing doesn't work that way. They just went towards joy and peace moment to moment and filled their cup. And then all of a sudden, what came natural to them, like feminine things, was enjoyable again. When I was in the masculine, I did not enjoy cooking or other activities like tending to my house, making things look pretty, anything that could be deemed feminine. When you're depleted, you don't want to do a thing. I even had an easier time dancing when I went back to the feminine. I could trust the lead. I could flow better. I know you ladies can relate. Anything either of you want to share about what you experienced stepping back into your natural and balanced state?
I got so much energy back by just asking for help, where I realized I was carrying things on my own that really I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Or taking a look at what expectations I was setting for myself and asking if that's something I really wanted. Because a lot of the expectations were very masculine and they were burning me out trying to keep up. And like you said, stepping into what my heart was really calling for, it's like a little bit of both, like a mix of both, not just one or the other. But I feel like it was uncomfortable at first, but once you start to allow yourself to flow with the more feminine things, it is so beautiful. And it's been kind of fun to explore what intuition is for me. I've been really looking at that for the last 2 years and exploring that within myself, because before it felt like some faraway thing when I was very heavy in my masculine. I was like, what the hell is that? Shit sounds woo-woo. I don't know. Like, what is intuition? It's this invisible thing that I can't possibly understand because it's not logically, it doesn't make sense. And I just want to know.
Yeah.
Part of the sage of me, I'm like, I want to know.
There
but
you go.
it doesn't come from the noggin, you know? That's what I've been experiencing and feeling on the journey of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen it. Yeah. And the journey continues.
Yes, I think I can definitely relate to some of those. I also noticed the energy increase that Hannah talked about. Yeah, I think Hannah said it a little bit earlier, but you're just reclaiming that energy back, all the energy you spent trying to control and to do this and to do that and to stay turned on all the time and trying to do everything. You just get to turn all of that back into yourself. That has allowed me to just tune in more to myself, my emotions, my body, and start learning more about what I really need and paying attention to those breaks that are needed. I'm even finding in my own journey with my chronic back pain that I am able to notice now when I need to take a little break, 15, 20 minutes max, before it gets really bad. Where previously, for example, it would be in my face screaming in pain before I would go, oh my God, I need to stop. Where now I can catch it before it even gets there. And if I give myself just that little rest, I'm good to go and keep going. It's just, that has been really great for my own personal health and wellness journey. Then also, I can relate to what you were saying, Eileen, earlier about the cooking. And I didn't really care about cooking or making things pretty and this, that, and the other. And I catch myself wanting to nest more and, decorate and care about how rooms look and just making our space feel homey and cozy. And then cooking. Over the last couple of years, cooking has become so much more of a passion for me. I was so depleted working as a nurse that I just didn't have another drop of energy to pour into that. And now a relaxing afternoon for me is playing some of my favorite music and just tapping into that fun and flow. And I don't even like to do a recipe when I really want to tap into my feminine flow. I just go in the kitchen and go and just
Yes.
flow and make something happen. And that always puts me in such a good flow state. And getting to tap into that now, I realize how much I was missing. And even just, it's a way for me to also provide for my husband that I like, because it makes him so happy coming home after a long day at work and getting greeted by the cozy smells of our house and a warm home-cooked meal. And that's another thing that brings me joy. And then also getting more into crafts. I feel like I forgot how much I enjoy being creative and crafting and actually dedicating time to just have fun and play. I think play was a big thing I lost when I was in my more masculine state, was how to have fun. I literally forgot how to have fun. And when I got out of it, I think you remember, Eileen, I was like, I don't even know how to have fun anymore. Like I was sitting there asking myself, what do I do for fun? If somebody asked me right now, Lauren, what do you like to do for fun? I had no idea. I was so far away from it. So getting into the space now with the cooking and the crafts and paying attention to myself. And one more thing I even want to mention is Hannah talking about tapping into the rest and relaxation. I used to have a really hard time if my husband was in action mode, relaxing. And now I've been actually able to give myself permission to relax, even if he's in action mode. I kind of take this pause and I go, this isn't about me right now. He's feeling action oriented, like he wants to clean and get up and do stuff. But if I'm not feeling that, I don't need to do it.
Right. He's allowed to be his way and I'm allowed to be my way.
Exactly.
I love that.
So that's a big thing too, where I felt even if I was worn out, if he was doing something, I had to get up and do it. But now I'm like, you do you, boo. I'm going to sit here and chillax on the couch.
And enjoy the show.
Yes.
But I hope that some listeners out there are finding all of what you guys are sharing very attractive. Like, ooh, I would like to be that way. Oh, let me get some of that in my life. Right?
Get on some Top Chef level, guys, because Lauren, it's a blessing to be in her kitchen. Let me tell you.
Oh, you're so sweet. That makes me so
girl,
happy.
what are you talking about? I've had your what was that?
Oh, that crusted fish that Hannah made?
Crusted salmon deliciousness.
Oh, yes.
Girl, don't
almond crusted salmon.
Ugh, yum.
Yes, Lauren is always inspiring me. I love playing in the kitchen too. I forgot to mention that, but I had mentioned I love baking earlier, but I really started to play more in the kitchen when we were all trapped inside with COVID and just we pretty much just ordered all the groceries online. We also had HelloFresh to get inspired with new recipes that we probably wouldn't have ever tried before. And it is almost a way of arts and crafts for me, from the getting your hands messy at times, but playing with the flavors, bringing out the taste, the creativity through taste and smell, texture, plating, everything in between.
You are speaking my language.
And I think the key here is to feel inspired to do so, listeners. It's not, let me get into cooking so that I can get into femininity again. That's because we all stepped more into our natural, feminine way. We got more and more inspired in the kitchen. So yours may show up differently. Yours may not be about cooking. It may be another fun expression of creativity.
Oh, yeah. That is a really important point.
So I want to reiterate the purpose of this episode. The definitions and identifications used in this episode are seen all over the world, and even from ancient times. I prompt you to question your beliefs and ideas about men and women, masculine and feminine, and what it means to you. Ask yourself, what traditions do you like? What aspects would you like to hold on to? Our cultures, perceptions, ideas, even our DNA. Things are passed on, so much so that this may feel ingrained and feel as if it's something we must continue. What would you like to keep going in your life? Ask the question, am I balanced? Are my feminine and masculine ways working for me? If you're always exhausted, if you're always getting sick, emotionally unhappy, then it's time to question the need for change. That's what we have for you today, besties. We hope this episode left you feeling inspired and above all connected. If you're feeling what we're putting out, then like, share, comment, subscribe, and also share this episode with your besties, friends, and family. Check us out on Instagram or TikTok at The Bestie Perspective and interact with us there as well. And if you prefer email, you can reach us at thebestieperspective@gmail.com. And especially pertaining to this episode, let us know if you want to hear more about the masculine and men. If there's interest, we can deep dive into those archetypes and more things surrounding the male side of this conversation. If you want assistance in balancing your masculine and feminine energy, you can visit my Stand store through our link tree and see my coaching services and work with me directly. Also, if you take the quiz, share your archetype results with us. Let us know which ones you gravitate towards and why. Like any good bestie would, we want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
As for next time, are you emotionally unavailable? Ever been called over-emotional? Or maybe you've never been called anything of the sort because you avoid emotions like the plague. What if we told you inviting in emotions and embracing them is actually what gets you to move past them? Don't believe me? Then you joining us next Wednesday is a must. Lauren leads us in a discussion titled The Power of Feeling Everything. Until then, besties, keep growing, keep glowing, and always trust in your own bestie perspective.